Good morning, and this is the fourth video for my transition journey. And today I would like to talk about something which both trans men and trans women find very important. I would like to talk about hormones and access to hormones within the UK. And this is purely aimed based on my knowledge of the UK system for access to hormones. So in the UK, when you come out as trans, there are several options of getting onto hormones. You can speak to your doctor and ask to be referred to a gender identity clinic. I will talk about each option individually once I listed them. So yeah, gender identity clinic. There's several around the country. In England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. The second method is to find a private clinic to look after your hormones and look after your transition. And thirdly, there is buying your hormones off the internet from overseas pharmacies. So let's talk about the first one. Gender identity clinic. As I said, there's several around the country in the UK. You tend to need to be referred to them via your GP. So you need a GP which is understanding about transgender issues and willing to support you and refer you to these clinics. Some clinics do self-referrals, but I think they're trying to phase those out. I know when I came out back in June 22, I was able to self-refer to the gender clinic in Glasgow called Sandyford, and in recent weeks they have stopped allowing people to self-refer. The benefit of going through a gender identity clinic is it's NHS run. So your GP will be on board with them, or should be on board with them, because it's a National Health Service clinic, and they can provide the whole journey. They can support you throughout the journey, from starting hormones to surgery and post-surgery, and it's free of charge. NHS doesn't charge for services. So yeah, unfortunately there is a downside to this. Most gender identity clinics have a waiting list. This waiting list varies in length depending on which clinic you go to, but they tend to be between anything of 2.5 years to over 5 years from being referred. For me, being with the Sandyford clinic up in Glasgow, I registered June 22, as I said. I don't expect to be invited for my first appointment until about October, November 2027. The wait is that long in Glasgow, and there's nothing been done about it. Nothing's been done to address it. As I say, yeah, for youngsters where they've got plenty of time, they're still young, and yeah, for they can wait. For older people like myself, time is slipping by. I worked out by the time, if I had gone down the NHS route, by the time I got to the point of being referred to surgery and having surgery, I would be almost 60. I would be 50, about 55, 56 before I got onto HRT if I had purely waited for the NHS. I'm currently on hormones and I'm 51 years old. I came out at 49. So yeah, it's positive, it's free of charge, and your GP will be on board or should be on board with it because it's an NHS clinic. Downside, it's a long wait. So yeah, if you can wait, yeah, go for the NHS option. The next option is private clinics. There's several private clinics around the country. I went to one up in Edinburgh called the Waterside Clinic, and that's what I will base my conversation on, my experience with them and how it worked. And there are other ones. There's one called Gender Care and Gender GP. With private clinics, there's two ways. You either get private scripts and rely on them all the time for your prescriptions, or you go for a shared care agreement with your GP. And these private clinics will provide shared care contracts and information for your GPs if they agree. I was very fortunate. I moved to a new GP just after I came out, and at registration I said I wanted shared care, and I got told no issues, no problems, they're happy to do it. And again, it all depends on which clinic you go to. Unfortunately, some clinics have better reputation than others. I won't name any. And GPs are scared of dealing with the less reputable private clinics, which are some are online based, some are operated outside the UK. But I'll go back to the clinic I used, which was a Waterside Clinic up in Edinburgh, formerly known as Gender GP. Sorry, not Gender GP, Your GP. Just getting a bit confused there. So Waterside Clinic is based by the Water Leaf in Edinburgh. I had my first appointment with them in December 2022, where for an hour I chatted with a GP specialist, and about my background, about my family, about everything. And at the end of that, it gave me a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Following on from that, I had a second appointment and with a psychologist via Zoom. And again, it was another hour talking about myself, about my past, about who I am. And again, she confirmed my diagnosis of gender dysphoria. You had to have these two consultations. Same with the NHS, you had to have these two consultations and diagnosis before they will start you on hormones. And then at my third appointment, I met with a different GP consultant, and she called Melanie Grundy, and she spent the hour going through hormone replacement therapy, the pros, the cons for me, made sure I was aware of the risks I was taking and undertaking with starting hormone replacement. She got me to sign consent forms for hormone replacement, and she also went through the shared agreement that for my GP, and what was required of my GP by the clinic. At the end of the appointment, she gave me a private prescription for HRT and testosterone blockers. Yeah, so each of these appointments cost me £360 each, and you had to have the three of them to start HRT with this clinic. And as I said, it's normal for the NHS to have the 3 appointments as well. I don't know what other clinics do, whether they have the same number of appointments, but you just had to ask if you're looking at private clinics, and you just had to do your research about what the costs and what's involved. So at the end of my 3rd appointment, I walked out with a private prescription for my hormone replacement therapy and testosterone blocker. I went up to the Boots on the way back to the station and got my private prescription. I think it was a total of £108 for 3 months worth of hormones. I received confirmation of my HRT prescription and a letter confirming that I was now on HRT. This was sent to my GP along with the shared care agreement, and my GP took it on. I was fortunate that my NHS GP did my hormone replacement prescriptions, which for me in Scotland they were free of charge. They did my 3 monthly blood tests for my clinic appointments, again free of charge, and I was able to get access to my blood results so I could take them up to the clinic with no problems, no cost. But that's an example of a very on-board GP practice. I was fully accepted with the GP practice, and they helped me change my gender identifiers on my NHS records with my kind number in Scotland, then my NHS number, and I've been recognised as female within the NHS from about March last year. So we've looked at NHS clinics, we've looked at private clinics. Now we'll look at accessing hormones via the internet. For me, this is one I never looked at for myself. I do know people who have got hormones via the internet or from overseas without their NHS doctor's knowledge and backup or support. It's not something I would advocate in doing, but it's something we need to talk about because it goes on, and it will continue going on until there's some way the NHS comes up with a better solution for accessing hormones via GP without gender clinic, or the law is changed about buying hormones overseas. So if you search the internet for hormones, pharmacies for hormone replacement therapy, you can get lists of ones from overseas. The ones I know about have come from small Pacific Island states, and yeah, the people get them sent over to them and use them. But there's no regulation to this. You don't know what you're getting. There's no guarantee it's correct stuff or the correct dose. And again, you could be wasting your money. But for a lot of people, it's the only way they can access hormones prior to reaching the top of NHS waiting lists. A lot of people's GPs don't support them, won't do. GPs are allowed to do bridging scripts for hormone replacement therapy. Very low doses, but it's meant to start you on the journey until you get seen by the gender identity clinic. But a lot of GPs won't do bridging scripts unless you show an inclination of harming yourself, or that you're accessing hormones illegally or from overseas. You can say, yeah, I've been accessing hormones overseas, and that might prompt your GP to do a bridging script, but it doesn't always, and you might have to continue getting your hormones from overseas. But again, I do not advocate this form of accessing hormones, because there's a huge risk that you don't know what you're getting. You might not necessarily get sent anything. You might pay the money and never get a prescription sent to you. So I would say this access to overseas hormones via the internet and the black web would be a last resort, for me personally. But other people I know are desperate, and it's the only way they can access hormones, because they've got unsympathetic GPs, and the NHS gender clinic waiting lists are too long for them to wait. So yeah, I can understand why people go down this method. With all hormone replacements, you should be regularly monitored for your bloods and any side effects, and you should be aware of the side effects of hormone replacement therapy when you start them. Do your research, read up on hormones, and there's loads of information on the internet, on Google. Just Google it. And yeah, same for testosterone. You can go to NHS, you can go down private clinics, or you can go on the internet for testosterone for trans men. But again, you need to get your regular bloods done and have someone monitoring you to look after you, to make sure you're safe and nothing untoward is happening to you. Hormones are very important to us. It's the biggest way of changing ourselves without surgery, and it's successful. If you saw me 2 years ago, I looked a lot different to this. My face was a lot fatter. I didn't have breasts, and yeah, today is my 2-year anniversary. So yeah, a lot's changed in my 2 years thanks to hormones for me. But again, you have to remember, hormones won't change your voice if you're a trans woman. Testosterone will change your voice if you're a trans man. So don't expect changes in your voice. Just read up on the changes, as I said, and embrace them when they happen. But try and keep yourself safe with your access to your hormones. And yeah, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.